flee their homes, 3.6 million Syrians have ended up as refugees in Turkey.
We have 500,000 people born here. So are they Turks? Are they Syrians? What are they?
But more than a decade after the war in Syria began, hate towards refugees living in Turkey has seen a sharp rise.
When you say that you're Syrian, you don't know what the person's reaction is going to be.
I'm Hannah Lucinda Smith. I'm seeing how Turkey has been transformed by the civil war that's still raging next door in Syria.
How could we send them back? They don't feel secure in Syria.
My Forgotten War. Tuesday at 9:30 and 20 GMT. Or listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Coming up on The Real Story in the next half hour. A world without work, the vision conjured up by Elon Musk this month. He reckons artificial intelligence could mean no job is needed. Many companies experimenting with shorter working weeks say employees are happier, productivity higher. So why is one leading Indian business voice urging the opposite, 70-hour weeks to help India's economy? Is a world without work possible or even desirable? That's after a summary of the news.
BBC News with Debbie Russ. Palestinian officials in Gaza say Israeli airstrikes have struck the courtyard of the biggest hospital in the territory, Al-Shifa. Videos show a missile hitting an area where people were taking shelter, followed by screams. A BBC correspondent in Gaza says Israeli tanks are now just metres away from the hospital, surrounding it on 4 sides. The UN has appealed for an immediate ceasefire in northern Myanmar, where ethnic armed groups launched an offensive against the military 2 weeks ago. It said a pause was crucial to allow aid to reach the almost 50,000 people in Shan's state displaced by the violence. International agencies say 700 people have been killed in Sudan's West Darfur region in recent clashes between the rival military factions. Local civil society groups say that number could be far higher. The Prime Minister of Hungary says he opposes the European Union opening membership talks with Ukraine. Viktor Orban is widely regarded as the most pro-Russian EU leader. The US Secretary of State is in Delhi for talks with his Indian counterpart. He'll also meet the Indian Prime Minister. Discussions are likely to focus on mutual concerns about China. The Bangladeshi Prime Minister has rejected any further wage hikes for protesting clothing factory workers. They've been demanding a nearly 3-fold increase in their basic pay. The US arm of one of the world's largest banks has been hit by a ransomware attack that's disrupted its trades on the US Treasury market. Thursday's attack has raised concerns about the security of the international banking system. The family of a young Japanese actress who was found dead in September have said she was overworked and bullied at the all-female musical theatre troupe she was part of. Her apparent suicide has shone a spotlight on the Takarazuka Revue, one of Japan's most popular entertainment companies. BBC News.
You're listening to The Real Story from the BBC World Service with me, Sean Lay. This week, we're examining the future of work and whether it has one. So with me on our panel, Andrew Palmer, who writes The Economist's Bartleby column on management and work, Brendan Birchall, who is Professor in Social Sciences at the University of Cambridge, and Anat Lechner, who is Clinical Full Professor of Management and Organisations at New York University. Now, they've already discussed how we got to the world of work today, the impact of technology, and why, despite that, many seem addicted to long hours. In the half hour remaining to us, we're going to discuss how we can make artificial intelligence work for us, whether there's a route to Elon Musk's work-free world, and whether it's a destination that's desirable anyway. Elon Musk made his prediction about a world without work during an on-stage interview conducted by the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. He was hosting a global summit about the future of artificial intelligence. Mr. Sunak wants the UK to be a leader in AI and tech.
What would your kind of observation be on AI and the impact on labour markets and people's jobs, and how they should feel about that as they think about this?
Well, I think we are seeing the most disruptive force in history here. You know, where we have for the first time, we will have for the first time something that is smarter than the smartest human. I mean, it's hard to say exactly what that moment is, but there will come a point where no job is needed. You can have a job if you want to have a job for sort of personal satisfaction, but the AI will be able to do everything.
Elon Musk there talking to Prime Minister Rishi Sunak at the UK AI Summit, which took place earlier this month. Professor Brendan Birchall, at the University of Cambridge. How would you evaluate Elon Musk's prediction about the impact of AI on work?
I think he may well be right, but what we don't know is the timescale, and I think we might be talking hundreds of years rather than decades for that eventual situation where AI will take over and be so much more intelligent and so much more capable than us. And often when we've made these predictions in the past, they come true, but on a very different timescale to what was predicted. When we look at employers now, as Anat was saying, there are some tasks we do that have been revolutionized by the technology. But when I look at schools and hospitals and people's workplaces, their offices, in most of those that I'm seeing at the moment, we're not seeing these big changes. The people aren't being impacted, or if they are being impacted by technology, it's in a relatively minor way. Again, we know that only a minority of employers seem to be investing in these technologies. So at the moment, I don't think that these sorts of changes are going to happen rapidly, but I might be wrong.
Andrew Palmer?
Yes, I mean, I think the timescale one is that's a good point from Brendan. You don't quite know what's going to happen if you're sort of decades out. In general, these things take a bit of time to filter through, and there are some particular reasons here. So blue-collar work, manual work, AI is not going to be as easy to sort of propagate in those areas of the economy. Human-to-human interaction, retail, healthcare. People still like the idea of interacting with other people, so it'll take time for AI to spread there. So I would just be cautious about making big predictions over a kind of short to medium term time frame. It's possible if you go a long way out, then everything changes. But in the short term, I'd be less sort of gung ho about it.
Andrew Palmer, you mentioned healthcare as an intriguing example I saw quoted in one article in recent years. This is from a man called Paul Martin Muller, who was chief robotics officer at the time in part of Denmark's public sector. He adapted robots as a solution to a shortage of hospital orderlies. He could get 35 robots for the salary of a single orderly. The robots with supplies to doctors and nurses. It was all working very well. Everybody was benefiting. And yet other staff disliked the robots and sabotaged them because they kind of feared, well, if he's done it to that job, one day it will be mine too. How do you deal with that problem that you might have innovation and benefits, but you've got to carry people along with them? It's a bit what you were talking about earlier in the programme about short-term, long-term.
Well, that's where management comes in, and a willingness to take some risks and to experiment. I think, when you talk about public sector work, as Brendan mentioned, governments are going to be a real blocker to adoption here. They're very unlikely to take risks that might affect the jobs that they are responsible for. So you're probably going to see this more in the private sector. There are examples of this. So robots and workers collaborating, cobots is what they call them. So it does exist, and over time you can get socialized and used to them. So I'm sure that is possible, and particularly with ChatGPT and large language models, you can experiment yourself and work out, okay, what suits my way of working. I think the flip side in all of this is that we're assuming a really efficient adoption by managers, by people who run organizations. Very often they add unnecessary work rather than subtracting. So, maybe we can all work more efficiently, but what's going to be added to our workload by the people who kind of want us to work 70 hours a week or value presenteeism? So those kind of social attitudes, those organizational attitudes have to shift.
And just on that organisational question, Anna Lechner, you have talked about the impact ChatGPT has made on your work. At what point do people start to say, well, hang on a minute, if you're doing your work in fewer days, maybe we should be paying you less?
I can see this coming as well, but I think that underneath this issue, there has to be a different way to value. So you pay me for my time, but you actually want to pay me for what I contribute. And if we are smart enough to align payment with contribution opposed to payment with presenteeism, as we spoke about, then we can adapt new technologies to benefit people, to benefit society essentially. And there is a lot of benefit in having, bots, not just doing all sorts of simple work in hospitals, but as you know, about nearly 20% of the surgeries now are done with bots. The more precise, recovery time is shifted in a way that's benefiting the patients, and so on and so forth.
Thank you. There are some people in business who worry that in a desire to make work more appealing, we could lose sight of what work is for and the needs of others. We asked several bosses in the private sector to make the case for a longer working week. They declined. Instead, I talked to Elliot Keck. He's head of campaigns at the Taxpayers Alliance, a British organisation which looks at value for money in publicly funded services. Why has the Alliance lobbied against local authorities switching from a 5-day working week to a 4-day one?
I think absolutely it's something that we should begin to explore as a society, but there's a sequence of events that should take place. And when we're talking about a 4-day week, we should be talking about looking at how it works in the private sector before even beginning to consider it in the public sector, where people really rely on those vital services.
Isn't it a question of organisation, though? Isn't it possible to do most things in fewer days if you distribute the work more efficiently?
What we've seen in the public sector is that for the 20 years before 2019, there was only a 4.1% increase in productivity during that whole period of time. If the public sector, if councils, if NHS trusts, if Whitehall went down to a 4-day week, what we'd need to see is an instant increase in productivity of about 25%. If you don't see that, then you're either going to have to hire more staff, which costs more money, or you're going to have to start cutting vital services, which is obviously a massive problem for those that use them.
There's a big experiment going on at the moment involving a large number of companies in the UK. Started in the summer of last year, 2022. Although it's not over yet, 56 out of the 61 companies taking part say they're going to carry on with the 4-day week, and 18 of them say they're going to make it permanent.
Yeah, and it's certainly interesting, and those results will be interesting, but I think we should note the companies that have decided either not to make it permanent or to abandon the thing in its entirety. And also we should be looking at the types of companies that are getting involved. Are these self-selecting companies? Are these companies that maybe were already thinking about a 4-day week? And we should be looking at whether or not it's appropriate to then transfer that experiment to something very vital like a local council, which is what we're seeing, for example, in South Cambridgeshire, where they are currently running a 4-day week trial.
What do you say to those who have gone down this route to say, actually, our experience is that we are more productive and we're making productivity gains, even though we're having people in the office for fewer hours?
I think it's entirely possible that a 4-day week increases productivity. The question is it increasing productivity by enough to make up for the fact that you've reduced working hours by 20%?
There are companies in the private sector, there are organisations in the public sector who would argue and do argue that actually long hours are a good thing because they actually allow people to work in a sustained way, produce better quality of work, and show a commitment to the organisation and to their colleagues. What do you make of that argument?
I think hard work should absolutely be seen as a virtue, but when we are talking about the public sector, we also don't want burnout. We should take staff welfare very, very seriously, but that needs to be balanced with the interests of the residents and taxpayers and service users that they provide for. And I think that's why, we at the Taxpayers Alliance are very opposed to 4-day week experiments in the public sector, at least for now, and at least until we see some serious evidence from a wide array of organisations in the private sector.
What's your working week like at the Taxpayers Alliance?
I work a 5-day week, and I periodically work weekends, and I often work relatively long hours, but it's a job that I enjoy and I'm passionate about, and I don't see that as a hardship.
From your point of view, it's, in cultural terms, from your experience, it's a positive one.
I think it's generally a positive one. I think work should bring you a great amount of satisfaction. And if you work in the public sector, if you work in an NHS trust, if you work in a council, you're delivering vital services for residents and for taxpayers. And that should be a rewarding thing. And to be told that you now need to produce the same amount of work in with a reduction of 20% of your hours, I could imagine for many people would actually be quite stressful.
Elliot Kirk at the Taxpayers Alliance. He seems to be saying, Brendan Birchall, that one size doesn't fit all. I mean, you've looked at this whole question of 4-day working week, I think. What's your impression?
Well, certainly one size doesn't fit all. All the companies that we've researched make these changes in different ways. I really do find the Taxpayers Alliance very strange that they made it clear that even before they got any evidence on this, that they were opposed to it on ideological grounds. But as you say, we've shown that this reduction in working time works in almost all companies we've looked at. The first 3 months of Cambridge South Cambs District Council showed that their performance, if anything, was up, not down, as it did in those 60 or so companies. On average, the performance, their productivity was up, not down. People found much better ways of working. We got happier employees. We got reduced turnover. They weren't having to hire agency staff. They couldn't fill vacancies before. People didn't want to work in the council. because it wasn't paying the same level as other employers locally. The whole thing, all of the evidence we've got is that it's been a big success, as we expected, because that's what we'd seen in the private sector, not only in the UK, but in Ireland, in the United States, in Canada, in Iceland, in Spain, in so many other countries. So if it worked in all those other organisations, almost all of them, why it wouldn't work in the public sector? We know Scotland are going ahead with this. Wales are thinking very seriously about it. I really do think there's a huge body of very good evidence that people can get their work done. They work hard, think very differently about how they're going to get the work done. Sometimes, they need to make really quite big changes, but people are very willing to make those changes because there's such a big reward. People love having a 3-day weekend. And if they can get the work done, they will rethink the way they're working.
I promised we'd hear from one of the companies that has tried the shorter working week. In the UK over the last 18 months, more than 70 companies have been taking part in research on exactly that. Surveyed midway through the planned programme, almost 90% of those companies who responded said they intended to stick with the shorter working week even after the trial is over. Gary Conroy is the Chief Executive Officer of 5 Squirrels, a company in the skincare sector. Having been involved in one of the trials of a 4-day working week, he explained to me how they'd gone about fitting what used to take 5 days into 4.
What we had to do to begin with was really adjust people's mindsets to work, and really what we had to do was then construct an honest appraisal of what we were actually doing while we were here. And by stripping out a lot of the unnecessary tasks, a lot of distractions that often happen, we quickly realised that actually tasks didn't take as long as you thought they would. Multiple tasks that are similar could be done collectively together. And what we actually found, and we continue to find, is that we can get more work done in 4 days now than we used to in 5 by changing our mindset and changing how we work as opposed to actually changing the work we do. They suddenly had a eureka moment whereby they realised that things don't take as long as they actually do if you just get your head down and get on with it, as opposed to being disrupted. And the multitasking thing was quite a thing that people had to adjust away from. I think humans often are quite reactive, and moving away from reactivity and focus allowed people to get the task done much quicker in a much shorter period of time, and quite often to a much higher standard as well. We noticed that quite a lot of customer complaints dropped away was when people were distracted. They would make errors and they wouldn't pick up on those errors, but focus brings higher quality control and more productivity together. So people are overall very positive. They have much more time in their own lives to do other things, and work's no longer the dominant force it once was.
Are there companies or businesses you think this wouldn't work for?
I can't really see how it would work in any industry unless there's industry out there that just knows that people are being productive the whole time. I think even if you don't want to reduce the amount of time that you work, having a different approach to work will make any industry or any company much more productive as an output.
A number of companies that have been involved in these kinds of experiments haven't pursued them, and their explanation for that is that they say they found some of their staff got more stressed because they felt they had to pack more into a shorter amount of time. Did you have any experience of that?
That didn't happen to us, but we sort of, I guess, maintain it quite closely, and we manage it quite closely. So if any individual is showing any signs of stress or, is finding a task quite laborious, then we strip it apart and we look at the process in the granular level, and we look at hacks within it. Well, could technology be applied? Could the process be improved? But once you get down to a point where you can say, this task takes this length of time, regardless how efficient you can make it, then you've got to settle on that and say, well, that's how long this task takes. If you're then trying to get people to be more productive within that task, then they're going to get stressed, and you either need more people or a better process, in my view anyway. So I don't think it's about squeezing more into less time. I think it's about taking stuff out that is unnecessary, and it's about improving the processes that people should follow to make the task achievable within the timeline. I think often we have two sort of different blocks of time during our days, where we have deep work time, which is sort of no distraction, no phone calls, no emails, no anything really. It's just, get on with the task. And then we have other times which are networking times, where people, can have a chat, they can collaborate, they can also be a bit more reactive during those times. And that really helped us to break the back of most of the bigger chunks and the most productive elements of the roles that people got to do.
That's Gary Conroy, Chief Executive of 5 Squirrels. I don't know if there are any plans to rename it 4 Squirrels in the light of that experiment. Anad Lechner in New York, it seems like a win-win to Gary Conroy. As somebody who's analysed this whole field of work and making a working week more efficient, is it, do you think, as straightforward as saying we can do all that we did before in 4 days just if we reorganise ourselves?
I would assume that in most cases the answer is yes. I think that there is a built-in inefficiency that's just naturally existing in most of the works that people are doing, and that's part of institutional inertia, and we kind of know all the reasons why this exists. But again, one of the missing pieces in the conversation is what happens when new technology gets introduced. So we just shifted here the how many hours people are working, giving them a great incentive. And the great incentive, as people were saying, is, okay, you get a 3-day weekend. Everybody loves that. Of course they will. I'm not sure that this is sustainable over the long run, and it's a different conversation. But we just shifted the number of hours people are working, but not what they work on and not what they work with, right? If you shift the technology they work with, then I'm sure that you can get to a new level of efficiencies.
Brendan Birchall, you want to come in there?
Yeah. No, I thought that description of 5 Squirrels was very good, and it was characteristic of things we've been hearing again in these trials. Like your question about if we're just putting people under more time pressure, isn't that going to be a negative? That was one of the real concerns I had. And we take accurate measures of these things, and to my surprise, we didn't find this increase in people having to work under more intensity, more time pressure. They really are finding better ways of doing things. And partly they do that through finding new technologies. Once people realise that if they adopt these new technologies, they're going to benefit from it rather than the employer benefiting or the shareholders benefiting, but they themselves are benefiting, then they're very willing to not only take on these technologies, but suggest technologies themselves. And this is what we see is that.
But I did see it. I did see in one of the articles reporting on the trial, one company who less happy with the results, saying one of the problems they'd encountered was that because they're customer focused, Monday and Friday are their busiest days, therefore giving people that day off wasn't practical. They didn't get a 3-day week, they got a day off in the middle of the week, and actually the employees weren't particularly happy with that.
All of the companies had to adopt this in a different way, and it depended very much whether they're a creative team that need to look inward and always work at the same time as each other, or outward facing and always be able to answer the phones 5 days or 7 days a week. So the ways in which people found these productivity increases that allowed them to drop to 4 days a week varied a lot between companies.
Okay.
And you had to be smart. They had to be creative in the way you brought about these changes.
Andrew Palmer?
Yeah, I was just, your word customers is the one that I was going to bring up because it often gets lost. We talk a lot about how this works for the employees, and I don't doubt there's so much inefficiency you could squeeze the working week down, but we did it before from 6 to 5, so why not from 5 to 4? But you've got a big coordination problem if you've got customers expecting to be served all through the week, 7 days a week, and you're trying to manage that. So I think that is a problem, and it's potentially an opportunity. So some firms might see, actually, let's stick with 5, as others move to 4, as a way of maximising opportunity. Last point is that early on in a company's life, if you're a startup, the rules are different from if you're an established firm and everything runs well and you've got lots of redundancy. So at that point, it may not be possible to have these kind of things. So there's a lot of detail and nuance here.
We talked right at the start of this edition of The Real Story about the idea of working from home and that dream in 1979 that more of us would be doing it by 1981. Well, one thing that certainly accelerated the business of working from home was, of course, the COVID pandemic. But it's not been for everyone.
What I love about coming to a physical office is, you're walking into the office and you sit down and it's just like, go.
That was an advert for WeWork, the office sharing company, which has hundreds of locations around the world, but which has now filed for bankruptcy in the United States after it struggled to deal with the impact of people working from home during the COVID pandemic. So does this tell us that renting an office to chat and physically be around co-workers is going to be less common in the future? I mean, there is something, isn't there, about the psychology of work, Anak Lechner, that seems to suggest that people, if they are working on their own for a remote.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Vedasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820. Or you can visit our website www.welllamb.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamb@gmail.com. Well Lamb Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Hi there. Are you dreaming of owning your own house in Ghana? Then you will need a well-documented piece of land that is free from troubles. I highly recommend My Africa Property for any size of land that you will need. With My Africa Property, lands are available in Pram, Sopoli, Tohenia, Ogome, Dodova, Winneba, and many other locations at affordable prices. These locations are about an hour away from the airport, only 35 minutes from the motorway, 10 minutes drive from Central University College, 10 minutes drive to the beach, and close to Pram Senior High School and Ghana Men's Soccer Center of Excellence. For more details, visit our website www.myafricaproperty.com or call our UK office on 0208 123 2523. For our US and Canada offices, call us on +1 585 184 994145. You can also email us at ghana@myafricaproperty.com.
Tune in to On Point here on Starr Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour Show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour Show is your best source into the property industry.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur.
Wow, and a very good morning and welcome to Starr Radio UK. It is the morning show as usual. I'll be taking you through the next 1 hour. Thank you so much to Mr. Francis, for taking care of things behind the scene. And I welcome those of you that have joined us, and I say good morning and welcome to the Friday edition of the morning show. The time is just coming up to 1 minute past 11 a.m. And there's a lot to discuss when it comes to the news headline, but I'll be telling you about the travel, the network. It is the weekend, and I want us to sit back and let us, enjoy the program. Mr. Archie, like I said again, is busy behind the scene. Shout out to all our presenters that are working tirelessly. Remember to follow us on the Starr Radio UK on all the network where we are streaming. Good morning to you all the way in Lagos, Bishop Additional, and welcome to those of you that are connected with us on the sister broadcast as well. Where do we start from this morning? Let me take you through what is happening on the London Underground, the Overground, the cable network, and likewise what is happening on the road network as well. The Bekelu line has got a good service. The Central line is running very good this morning. The Sako line is good services. The District line is working as we expected. The Hammersmith and City is on a good service. The Jubilee line is a good service. The Metropolitan, the Northern line, good services. If you're traveling to London Heathrow Airport on the Piccadilly line, I can tell you this morning on the Starr Radio UK is a good service. The Victoria line is doing what it's meant to do on a good service. And the Waterloo City, the London Underground, the Elizabeth Line, the DLR, and the tram are all on good services this morning. Let's take you through the river bus this morning. What is going on there? The Woolwich Ferry has a very, very reduced service. So if you're traveling through the Woolwich service this morning, make sure you leave ample of time because it's got a reduced service. The RB1 is on a good service. The RB2, RB4, RB6, all on a good service this morning. The Thames River Services is also doing a very good job this morning. Let's take you through what is happening on the cable car this morning. A very good service as well on the cable car. And I'm going to tell you as well that, the weekend is going to be a very, very busy one. Make sure that you plan your journey, especially those of you that love to be out in the weekend. It's going to be a very good weekend. Let's take you through what is happening on the National Rail this morning. The Avent Coast, West Coast is on a good service. Those of you that are using the C2C is on a very, very good service. The Chiltern Railway is on a good service. The Cross Country is good service. The East Midland Railway is on a good service. The First Oil Train on a very good service. The First Trans-Pennine Express is a good service. If you're going to Gatwick Airport, it seems everything is good service this morning. The Grand Central, the Great Northern, the Great Western Rail are all on a good service. The Great Anglia is also on a good service. And likewise, Heathrow Express. I love the Heathrow Express. It connects you straight into Heathrow on a very, very fast, under 20 minutes. Also, the London Northern Eastern Railway is on a good service. It seems that we have a very, very good service on all the network. Is that the same thing on the road this morning? Let's take you through what is happening on the road this morning. Once again, this is still the Starr Radio UK, 5 minutes past at exactly 11:30. I'll take you through what is happening on the news coming out of Nigeria. In the next few minutes, I'll be taking you from Ghana to Kenya to South Africa to around the world, what is going on in Africa when it comes to the news this morning. 8226 Galley Road seems to be both ways are closed due to the landslip and the long-term road between the High Street and the Snowdon Hill. So make sure you take extra precaution and leave enough time. 8201 Farringdon Road going towards the City of London. It's also both ways are closed due to emergency gas main repair between the Rail Street and the Cross Street as well. A4010 Wibbington Road, Princess Ridgebury is also both ways slow traffic due to accident. 2 cars involved between Lee Road and Short Arc Lane. M1 down to Bedfordshire, 1 lane is closed, slow traffic due to the accident. A lorry and a car involved on the M1 northbound from junction 11A, Dunstable, Luton North. If you're traveling there, make sure you leave ample of time. McConnell Way, Rochester, demonstration on the McConnell Way both ways on the 8229, Cityway 823, Osted Way, traffic is coping very well. Lincoln Road, Bassendean. I love Bassendean. I've been there a few times. A very good place. If you're living there, I should shout out to you on the Star Radio UK this morning. There's been a report of accident on the Lincoln Road at Kenneth Way. Traffic is coping well as well. Let me take you down straight to 8232 Chan Road, Ewell. Queuing traffic due to accident on the 823 this morning. And coming down to the A406, I know Franks and Nachi drives through that end. And also this morning, we pray for all those that have died and those that are feeling griefs. We pray for you, we pray for the family. But the A406 North Circular, the Red Bridge, all lanes are actually reopened and the traffic is now easing. There's been a broken down vehicle that has now been removed. The A406 North Circular southbound at the A12 Red Bridge at the roundabout as well. Ruslip Road, Northford, delays clear earlier accident on the B445 Ruslip Road at the Lady Margaret Road as well. B1459 Chest Road, Collier Road, clear, traffic return to normal after the accident has now been removed as well. Let's come down to A317 Queensway Whale Bridge. There's a traffic return to normal. It seems that the road has been very busy. I'm not too sure, maybe because of the weather or maybe people are driving too fast. Let's take so much precaution. Let me take you through what is happening on the Tower Bridge this morning into the city. There's been a lot of queue traffic due to the bridge lift at about 10:20 this morning, just less than about almost half an hour ago. I can now confirm that the Tower Bridge both ways between Queen Elizabeth Street and the A203 East Smithway Tower Hill conjunction to the A2 at the Bricks Lane as well. So that is what is happening on the M25 going towards excess. There's been an earlier lorry involved on the M25 clockwise from junction 27 M11 to junction 28 A12 Brentwood, but it seems that the traffic is coping very well. If you're driving towards Oxford this morning, I can tell you that the A40, there's been a temporary traffic light due to emergency water repairs on the A40 Oxford Street, both ways at the A41 Orchard Street as well. So that seems to be what is happening on the road network. I can also tell you that this weekend, it's going to be very, very busy. I'm going to be telling you what the London Metropolitan Police are saying because we have 2 events that might be taking place simultaneously this weekend. So you want to make sure that if you're coming into London or if you're traveling into any part of central London this weekend, you might want to take so much precaution because there will be heavy traffic, there will be a lot of security, there will be a lot of emergency. I'll be telling you much about that before the end of the program from the information coming to the Starr Radio UK desk regarding this event coming up this weekend. So there's a lot of patrol going on as well, but for now, everything you need to know. And now let me go straight into that, because this is very, very important. We want to make sure that we keep our listeners and our viewers around the world, especially those of you that are living in the UK and those of you that are planning for this weekend. According to the London Metropolitan Police, our preparation for this weekend of remembrance are all well on the way. There will be road closures, access controls, security checks around Whitehall and other key locations. Security at the Sonitep and the surrounding area is consistent with the policing plans in the previous years. The measures in place are essential to make sure everyone attending official remembrance event can do so safely and securely. This remains our absolute priority. Again, this weekend there will be so much road closure, security check. Make sure that if you're traveling into London, you plan ahead as well. The London Metropolitan is also saying that we have charged 34 activists who are now appearing at the court across London. That was yesterday. Think of the resources spent policing, according to the Just Stop Oil, from planning all the way through to trial and potentially sentences. So it's going to be a very busy weekend. There's a lot of things happening in London. I'll be telling you a little bit more about that as well. But for now, let's go back and tell you what is happening on the other part of the globe in Africa, the beautiful continent, the continent that has so much resources, but it seems, there's so much pressure. It seems that, the Home Secretary is literally under a lot of pressure this morning. I'll be giving you a little bit about that. Sule Braveman, according to Jeremy Hunt, refuses to back the protest claim. According to Chancellor Jeremy Hunt, has refused to back Sule Braveman's claims about police bias as the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak faces calls to sack. Do you think that Sule Braveman, the Home Secretary, will be sacked by Rishi Sunak? Well, I don't know. What is your take on that? There's so much happening around the world, but now I'm going to be taking you to what is happening mostly in Africa this morning. There's a lot happening in the Middle East. We continue to pray for peace around the world. Let's start with Ghana this morning. Like I said, in the next 18 minutes, I'll be telling you everything you need to know from the president currently in Saudi Arabia. There's been some energy deal that have been struck. How does that mean? Nigerians, are you going to be having 24 hours electricity? I'll be telling you everything you need to know. Let's start with Ghana. Kofo and Nokia kola tree. Ghana outrage after the 300-year-old tree fell. Wow. Let's see if we can get the image, on the screen. I love when we see Africa with so much history, 300 years, that means that it's older than Nigeria this morning. If you look at this particular tree that I'm about to show you, the engineers are working on that. That literally tells you that this is even much older than Nigeria. But unfortunately, Nigeria is still what it is due to the amalgamation that many of us have been complaining about. But once again, you're still watching and listening to the Starr Radio UK, the finest African. Okay, the engineer is going to bring that up in just about a few minutes. Bear with us while that is being worked on. But for now, like I said, if you're in London and you're planning to be in central London tomorrow, make sure you plan ahead. There will be a lot of, road block. If you're going on the public transport, make sure you leave enough time so that you do not get caught up, in the road closure that is happening tomorrow. Good morning once again, those of you in Africa. Good morning to those of you in Europe. Good morning to those of you around the world this morning, and welcome to the finest African, the Friday edition. It is the 10th day of November 2023. I'm also sitting, for Archie this morning, as Archie is a little bit busy again this morning. Like I said, we pray for every family on behalf of the Star Radio UK that are going through difficulties. And yes, we think we got it. That is the tree that I'm talking about. This has been 300 years. It seems that something went wrong. Let's take you through a little bit. The authorities in Ghana have launched a manhunt for the people who cut down a famous 300-year-old kola tree, which was believed to have healing powers. Africa. It seems that somebody is trying to get the whole healing out of this 300-year-old kola tree. The tree dates back to Ashanti Kingdom, part of the modern-day Ghana. Local people say the tree grew in the spot where renowned priest Komofo and Yoka spat a kola nut on the ground in the early 1700s. Nigeria was nowhere. It was still the kingdom, the Ashanti Kingdom, the Oyo Empire, until the Berlin Conference that took part of so much of those territories. Many local people believe the black and the white seed of the kola tree could cure ailment and causes as well. Ghanaians have now expressed outrage as pictures of the fall tree in the town of Fayasi have now circulated online. So that is the tree behind me there. We hope that the perpetrators will be, will be caught and something will be done. It was spared during the construction of even the highway because of its popularity and was a tourist attraction for Ghanaians and the foreigners alike. So we hope, the authorities will find out who was those behind it. Let me take you straight to what is happening in South Africa this morning as well. We tell you what's happening in Kenya. According to the president of Kenya, Ruto called for an encouraging austerity. The Kenya president, William Ruto. I remember that the Prince Charles and, did I say Prince? He's no longer Prince, it's the King Charles. And also, the wife were all, they were in Kenya a few weeks ago, just before the state opening. The Kenya president says, faces some criticism following his first State of the Nation address yesterday, in which he called for austerity measures. There's a lot of austerity measures in Africa. Nigeria is going through the same thing. What can we do more to make sure that we can reduce austerity? We need a lot of things to happen in Africa. And the most important thing is job creation, economy, stability. This insecurity that is happening in most African countries must be looked into, the terrorism, and also the borders between Africa must allow free trade, but most importantly, must also stop any kind of terrorism that is happening as well. According to Mr. Ruto, said that the new direction may not be easy, but it is ethical, responding, prudent, and the most importantly, necessary. He actually said that his measure have made it possible for Kenya to now move ahead with paying $300 million, equivalent to 245 million of his Eurobond debt next month. Other Africans are in debt, just like Nigeria. I take you straight to Darfur, as there's still more clashes. According to the United Nations Agency, 700 lives have now died in Darfur clashes in Sudan. We hope that humanity will be spared as many people continue to die for the negligence of what should not happen. The United Nations Migration Agency says around 700 people were killed in Sudan in West Darfur region following clashes between the army and the rapid support forces. What do you think they should be doing? They should come on the round table and have discussion so that we can save many lives. According to the local human rights organization, has now estimated that as many as 1,300 people were killed in the West Darfur since last week Friday. Wow, that is a huge number of lives there. We hope that the United Nations and the international community would do much as well. Let me take you to what is happening in Madagascar. There's also a poll over political tension. I'm going to be telling you what is going to be happening tomorrow. Imo State is going into an election. There's a lot of tension going on the ground. We're telling you what you need to know. According to the head of the Madagascar Lower House of Parliament, has called for suspension of the next week presidential election. Why? Following weeks of opposition protests, Christina Razamafaso who led a mediation group to try to resolve the political crisis, actually said that the current climate in the country did not allow a free and credible vote to be held as scheduled for the 16th of November. She said that the poll should be delayed to ensure peace and harmony in the country. We hope peace will reign. I'm going to take you straight to what is going on in South Africa. Deri Taladi elected to a top United Nations court. The University of Pretoria law professor Deri Taladi has made history by becoming the first South African elected as a judge at the United Nations International Court of Justice. Once again, a very good morning to you, Samuel Adeyemi, and welcome once again, as many of you that have joined us. Good morning to my beautiful mom. Happy Friday to all the Muslims, both in UK, in Nigeria, around the world. And I say Barika the Jumat for every one of you as well. Also, shout out to all our Christians, brothers and sisters, all our other, faith from the Hindu, Buddhism, and whatever you practice. Always remember, do not fight for religion. Bodies in military uniforms are reported in Sudan. There's a lot of fight going on. Intense fighting reportedly continues in Sudan capital in Khartoum. In 10 minutes, I'll be taking you through what is happening in Nigeria. For now, we're touching on what is happening across Africa. Let's go straight to Burundi. Prosecutors seek life sentence for the ex-prime minister. Why? Mr. Buyuna denied the charges and asked to be acquitted, citing a lack of tangible evidence against him. Well, if there was any reason why you should be charged, the question is, what have you done when those charges should not have come in place? When you become the president, the prime minister in Africa, your job is to make sure you take care of those around you, but rather it is the reverse as well. Like I said, I'm sitting again for Archie this morning, as Archie is doing some big job behind the scene. And like I said, Monday, Archie will be back with myself. But for now, I'll be taking you through the program till 12 noon this afternoon, but I am still sitting here on the Starr Radio UK morning show. Prosecutors in Burundi are seeking life imprisonment for the former Prime Minister Alain Guillaume Bunyoni, who is on trial for 7 charges, including using witchcraft to threaten the president's life. Mr. Bunyoni trial started in September, a year after he was fired by the president, Evariste, over suspicious that Mr. Bunyoni was plotting a coup against him. Let's see what is going to happen. Let me take you through what is going on in Somalia. President undergoes surgery in Abu Dhabi. Again, most African countries do not have the best hospital, and that means they have to travel out of Africa to Dubai, to Germany. We saw that with the governor of Ondo State, Rotimi Akeredolu, spent 3 months in Germany for medical treatment. The question is, if you go on that medical treatment, what about the citizens? Can the citizens have the same opportunity as well? According to the report coming this morning on the Starr Radio UK, the Somali president Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud has undergone successful shoulder surgery in United Arab Emirates, UAE, according to the presidency. Mr. Mahmoud is recovering very well from the minor medical operation, his office said on Thursday yesterday. He did not give further details about what happened to his shoulder. Was he playing basketball? What happened to the president of Somalia that then eventually have to travel to Saudi Arabia? He later traveled to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, to attend the Saudi African Summit. Well, it seems that with one shoulder, he's still making his way to Riyadh, just like the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is currently there as well. I'll be telling you everything you need to know. South Africa has recorded sporadic diarrhea cases since 1950. A diarrhea outbreak has been declared in South Africa, Pulmore maximum security prison, following the death of a 19-year-old inmate. According to the health minister, Gio Fahala said, male inmate who contracted the disease last month died on Sunday. 8 more inmates aged 18 to 23 are now in isolation after testing positive for the disease. Well, that is about it in Africa this morning. There's a lot of flood going on in Somalia as well. And also, Malema accused Kenya leader of failing to deliver. South African opposition leader Julius Malema has criticized Kenya President William Ruto for failing to fulfill the promises he made to Kenyans when he ran for office last year. Speaking yesterday at the launch of the Pan-African Institute in Kenya, Mr. Milama accused President Ruto of backtracking on his commitment to lead in getting rid of the US dollar as a means of trade in Africa. Do you think that it will be in the interest of Africa to stop using dollar and work out a framework like the European Union that are spending this EU, the European 27 European countries working in the same direction and spending euro rather than using most dollar for transaction? Do you think, put in the comment section, good morning Mr. Adeni Akim, good morning Aziz, good morning Easy, good morning every one of you that have joined us. This is still the Star Radio UK. I'm here till 12 noon for Archie and myself, and Monday Archie will be back. Do you think that it is possible that we can stop using the dollar as part of our currency for trade? Let me tell you the proverb for today, Friday the 10th of November 2023. Wise words for you, African proverb. What covers the houses are roofs. Well, I'm sure many of you knows that without a roof there will be so much leakage, and that is why Nigeria continue to be leaking. There's so much leakage around it as well. In 5 minutes, I'll be telling you everything you need to know when it comes to Nigeria. Let's take one more from Africa. Malawi currency value plunge, spark on ease. 44% of Kawucha value will make imports dearer, but some argue it was long overdue. Are you worried about the Naira as well? The Naira is dancing, Azonto this morning is 1,400 again. It keeps going between 1.5 and 1.4. The dollar this morning is about 1,100 to a dollar this morning as well. Malawi currency has lost nearly half its value against the US dollar, just like the Nigeria money is losing value very fast against the US dollar. This is also sparking concern from some consumers in the southern African country that basic goods would definitely soar in price. Others have hailed the central bank devaluation move as overdue. The bank's 44% decrease was brought in to better reflect the culture price in different markets. 1,700 Naira culture will now be needed to buy $1 US in Malawi. Just like in Nigeria, you will need 1,100 Naira to be able to buy $1. According to the Malawi, it is the second time in 18 months that Malawi, one of the poorest countries in the world, has significantly decreased the value of culture, which is their currency, in relation to the US currency. It first did so in May last year in order to prop up dwindling foreign currency reserves, pressure by rising commodities prices, declined dollar revenue from tobacco export. Well, you would think that Malawi should be making so much money, but it seems that they are going into recession as we speak right now. So that is on the home front there. Let's see what is happening in Europe before we go straight into what is going on in Nigeria. Prince Harry wins the latest stage in the newspaper claim. Ex-NatWest boss losses 7.6 million after Farage row. That is also coming up as well. There's still so much tension in the Middle East between Israel and Gaza. Supermarket chain puts Starr back behind its steel. There was a body found in a car boot is searching for a missing man. Wow, that is a very, very sad one. Police investigating the disappearance of a man from South London have now found a body in the boot of a car. According to the report, Justin Henry, a 34 years old, was last seen about almost 21:50 hours on the 15th of October at a McDonald's drive in Croydon. His car, a silver Mercedes E-Class, was recorded later that evening on a CCTV near Crystal Palace, when it is thought another person was driving it. 3 people have now been charged in connection with Mr. Henry disappearance. Police said they found a red Nissan Almari near Nicholas Court in Delhi Road, Pali, on the November 6th this year. The body was found in the boot the following day. A post-mortem examination was carried out yesterday but no formal cause of the death was established, with further tests due to be carried out. According to the Detective Chief Inspector Matt Webb, due to the need to preserve forensic evidence, officers conducted a careful and methodical examination of the scene. We confirmed a body was in the car. We spoke to Justin's family later that day, and we are now waiting for formally confirm the identity. What is going on? We pray for the family, and we hope, justice will be served for Justin Henry, that the body was found in the boot. Now let's go straight to what is happening in the most populous black nation in the world, where we say Nigeria. Well, let's start with the Naira this morning. The Naira falls at 1,100 Naira in the official market, despite recent moves by the Central Bank of Nigeria to strengthening the foreign exchange market. The Naira closed trading on the investor and exporter forex window yesterday at about 996.75. That is not for the black market. This is about 13.95% decline from the 874.71 Naira closing on Wednesday. So far, the Naira has lost 27.75% of its value since opening the week at 780.23 kobo, according to details on the FMDQ Security Exchange. Well, not a very good news there. Let's go straight to what is going on in politics. It seems that PDP have asked INEC to disqualify Hope Uzodinma over APC over fake video. Well, it seems that less than 24 hours to the Imo State governorship election, the People's Democratic Party has asked the Independent National Electoral Commission to disqualify the candidate of the All Progressive Congress, Governor Hope Uzodinma. The PDP, in a statement by its National Publicity Secretary, Debo Ologunagba, on Friday said Hope Uzodinma should be disqualified for allegedly sponsoring a video against his candidate in a bid to mislead the people of the state. Do you think that the INEC can do that? Well, I'm not too sure. Our mission is to ensure development, says Fubara, the Rivers State governor. Remember that there was a lot of fight between the Rivers State governor and the former governor, Nelson Wike, that is also the current minister. Both of them met at an event, I believe yesterday, and they were both sitting side to side, but they were not talking to each other. Governor of Rivers State, Similaya Fubara, has urged the people of the state to put behind them the discomfort created by political tension experienced days ago and join effort with his administration in its determination to ensure continuous peace and development in the state. Do you think that there will be development? What is going on in Kogi State? A local government chairman have died. The chairman of Lokoja local government area of Kogi State, Mohammed Dansabi, is dead. May so rest in peace. Dansabi died in the early hours of today, Friday, at the Lokoja hospital during a brief illness. His death came barely 24 hours after the governorship election in the state. According to the family source, the deceased will be buried at Ugunwa Kura Muslim Cemetery after the Juma service today. He is survived by his mother, wife, and children. May so rest in peace. Let's still stick on the Starr Radio UK on the politics from Nigeria this morning, and then we'll take you straight to some of the other news from Saudi Arabia all the way down to other areas across the country as well. Plateau State Governor calls for calm as protests spread. Plateau State Governor Celeb Mutuwang has pleaded for calm among citizens of the state following protests that erupted in different parts of the state on Wednesday. The protest came after the Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja sacked all the 6 National Assembly members of the state elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, including a Senate Minority Leader, Simon Madrokan. According to the report, the aggrieved youth drawn from the 17 local government areas of the state, including women, blocked the Jos Abuja highway, causing heavy traffic jams, which left many travelers stranded. There were also attempts by the hoodlums to set ablaze the Court of Appeal Apex complex in Jos, but intervention of the some security agents save the situation. The question in Nigeria is, elections are held, but there's a lot of problems after the election. People go back to the court, and sometimes the outcome might not favor a particular party, and this is why these, youth almost wanted to set ablaze, the apex court in Jos. But in a statement on Wednesday, the governor acknowledged the profound disappointment felt by the people over the appeal court pronouncement, but is also calling for calm. I'm still sticking on the politics before we move into the business. Edo 2024, another female Labour Party aspirant have joined the race. Also, PDP end campaign for Bayelsa, Imo, Kogi governor polls. Kogi State is going into election, Imo is going into election, and Bayelsa as well. The People's Democratic Party has announced the closure of all campaign activities ahead of the Bayelsa State, Imo State, and Kogi State governorship polls. The elections are all scheduled to hold tomorrow. The candidates for the party include Governor Diri of Bayelsa State, Senator Samuel Anyanwu of Imo State, and likewise Senator Dino Malaye of Kogi State. This is also coming from the National Publicity Secretary Debo in a statement yesterday. Well, politics in Africa, and it's in the last 24 years, it seems those politics have not made any big impact. Thank you so much once again to our producer this morning, Mr. Francis, and likewise, like I said, Archie will be back with me again on Monday, as Archie is busy behind the scene this morning. Well, let's go straight to business. Many people love business, but the question is, how much business can we do? Federal government to spend 7.76 trillion naira on salaries. Good morning to you, Grandma Lee Ajayi, and happy weekend ahead. Adeni Akim, good morning to you. Yemi Fatuke in Lagos, good morning. Sanki, good morning. And like I said, good morning to Mr. Kende Oseni. Good morning to every one of you. Mrs. Taiwo Kike, good morning. And welcome to the Star Radio UK, the Friday edition. It is the 10th, 2023, and the time now is 11:35. Again, we tell you that all good services on the buses this morning. The traffic is moving as we expected. If you're traveling tomorrow in central London, there will be a lot of activities. I can now confirm that in the last few hours, there's been planned closure. There's a planned closure. Okay, sorry, I think that will be for tomorrow. I'll be telling you a little bit more of what we should be expecting tomorrow. There will be some planned closure over the weekend. So if you're traveling tomorrow, I'll be telling you what you need to know. Sako District, Elizabeth Line, Hammersmith, Jubilee, London Overground, Metropolitan, Waterloo City, there will be planned closure. So please remember to follow us, and we can tell you what you need to know when it comes to all these activities that is happening tomorrow. But for now, we are still on the Star Radio UK, the news headline from Nigeria. According to the federal government, recently agreed wage with the Labour Congress, salaries to the federal workers and other non-debt recurring costs are expected to go up 7.76 trillion in 2023. This is based on the data from the initial 2023 budget and recently signed 2023 supplementary budget. The country's central government recently approved a 2.18 trillion budget to augment new expenses, including an agreed wage reward for workers due to the removal of fuel subsidy. When the budget was announced, the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Abubakar Bagudu, the former Kebbi State Governor, noted that 605 billion naira has been earmarked for national defense, while 210 billion will cover the payment of wage award. He now said that 605 billion for the national defense and security is to sustain the gains made in security. Well, the question is, all this money are being put out and many lives are still being lost due to the insecurity in the country. The question is, are we paying the right to make sure that we protect, or are we just putting in limp services as well? Let me take you to this very, very important one. Many Yoruba people, many indigenous people, many Nigerians are concerned when it comes to the religious mob rule thrives as government spare killers and forget victims. Casualties of faith. Yesterday we told you about I think it was yesterday and day before yesterday, regarding Christian being killed in Nigeria. But again this morning, in what we can call extreme religious radicalism. In one of the many horrifying episodes on June 5, 2022, the hometown of a sitting governor in Ondo State, Rotimi Akeredolu, came under deadly attack when members of the Islamic State West African province allegedly stormed the St. Francis Catholic Church in our town, rained terror, killed no fewer than 40 unarmed worshippers, including children. 8 years before this terrible massacre, another Islamic militant organization, Boko Haram, on the night of April 14, 2014, invaded a government girls' secondary school in Chibok local government area, a predominantly Christian community in Borno State, and kidnapped 276 pupils, most of whom were Christian. Till date, 96 victims are said to be still missing, with 107 released, 57 escaped, 16 reportedly rescued by the military. In a similar displeasing situation, members of the Boko Haram militant group, 4 years after the shocking invasion of the girls-only secondary school in Chibok, in another terrible incident on February 19, 2018, attacked the Government Girls Science and Technical College, Dapchi, Yobe State, and adopted 110 female pupils, including Lee Shuaibu, who, unlike other victims, had since the event yet to regain her freedom for refusing to denounce Christianity when given a condition to convert to Islam for her to be released. Beyond these highlighted traumatic scenarios, there are numerous other disturbingly criminal episodes, including attacks on churches, mosques in Kaduna, Katsina, Zamfara State, the bombing of the market in Taraba and Borno State where alcohol is sold, among other atrocious acts of terrorism linked to the Islamic militant group. As far as religious extremism is concerned in Nigeria, multicultural society where religion, ethnicity, and politics are some of the factors creating disunity in the country. The question then is, what more can the government do to protect Nigerians against these evil individuals? Well, it seems that Davido is already again in the news this morning. We feel pain for every week. United fans replied Davido. Well, for those of you that follow what we called the football matches that takes place in UK, the Premier League. Let's take you straight to what is going on between Pa Fashion Roti and Pa Ayo Adebanjo, the two leaders of the social cultural group of what we call Afenifere, clash over clash over Supreme Court verdict. Let's go through it. The Pa Ruben Fashion Roti faction of the Pan-Yoruba Social Political Organization, Afenifere, has condemned the Pa Ayo Adebanjo's group position, and these are meant to be the leaders in Yoruba land, but it seems that two leaders that are fighting, you can imagine the children behind it are going nowhere. Pa Ayo Adebanjo's group position on the recent Supreme Court judgment upholding the victory of President Bola Tinubu in the last presidential election. The Pa Ayo Adebanjo faction on Wednesday met in Igbo Ijebu, Ogun State, and issued a communique vilifying the Supreme Court decision upholding Tinubu's election. In a communique that was circulated by the faction Secretary General, Chief Shola Ebisheni, the Adebanjo group had said, unfortunately, by the Supreme Court decision, the electoral reforms achieved through the agitations of Nigerians for quality control, through technology device, and billions of naira spent on infrastructure in that regard is now wasted. However, the Pa Ruben Fashion Roti group, which backed and endorsed Bola Tinubu ahead of the February 25th presidential election, has knocked the Pa Ayo Adebanjo group saying its remarks were not the position of Afenifere. So you can see that two individuals are fighting, and these are meant to be the two leaders in the Yoruba social cultural group. In a statement yesterday by his organizing secretary Kole Omololu, the Pa Ruben Fashion-Roti faction said that what the other group was said from the truth about Afenifere leadership on the position of the matter. Let it be on record that Afenifere leader, Chief Ruben Fashion-Roti, and the other Afenifere leaders are not privy to such ignominious press release and did not authorize it and did not subscribe to the Seditious Act. So you can tell that in the southwest part of Nigeria, two leaders that are meant to be one position are fighting each other, one in support of Bola Tinubu, the president, and the other in support of Peter Obi, has now led to two of them issuing different press statements. What is your take on that? Let me read from the comment section. And again, Isidola says, good to Professor Banji Akintoye, the leader of the self-determination. Police have now arrested husband and mother of money becoming down boy commit suicide. There's a lot of suicide going on. We talked about one yesterday. The Edo State Police Command has confirmed the arrest of the husband of Mrs. Toigi Olokobi, mother of the mommy calm down boy, after news broke out that she committed suicide. And this reminds me of one of the book that one of our mother produced in America, and I'm going to see if I can get the title of that book. There's so many suicide. There's so many reasons that people go into suicide, especially when there's abuse in the marriage and all that as well. So we hope that the authority will do the needful, and we hope and pray for the family that this woman has left behind. Once again, and I think I should have that in just about a few minutes. The name of the book that was sent to us yesterday, and let's see if we can bring that up in just about a few minutes, and hopefully maybe we can allow the engineer to let us have it at the back. Once again, it's still 11:46 at exactly 12 noon. This program will come to an end, and it will be a weekend ahead on the Star Radio UK. As we always say, we all have a role to play. Yes, I have the book here, and that book is called Enough is Enough on Domestic Violence. Each time we talk about the domestic violence that is happening, we've got to remind ourselves that every one of us has a huge role, to protect, whether it's a male or female, regardless of whatever your take is. We must not allow domestic violence to happen within our surrounding. And if you're in one, please try to find a solution to it. So like I said, this is still the Star Radio UK, the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. Like I said, a book was written by Reverend Mrs. Margaret B. Olawoye, Neil Faturuti. Enough is Enough on Domestic Violence. So if you can get a copy of that, that will be very useful, especially those of you that are NGOs, those of you that are also individuals. This book is available, Enough is Enough on Domestic Violence. And if you go back to the headline from the news coming out this morning from Edo State, police have now arrested husband as the mother of mommy be calming down boy commits suicide. According to the story, the Edo State Police Command has confirmed the arrest of husband of Mrs. Tolu Olokubi, a mother of mommy calm down boys, days after news broke that she committed suicide. According to the ex-user, broke the news of Mrs. Tolu's death on Monday this week. The ex-user, who said he was at the scene of the incident on Monday afternoon, tweeted, "The woman in the viral Mommy Calm Down video has just committed suicide here in Benin. She refused to speak to anyone about her problems. She left 3 kids for the husband, including the popular Mommy Calm Down boy." One of the residents of the area also confirmed her death, saying the deceased committed suicide in front of her 1-year-old son. Wow. Star Radio UK, it is still the 10th, 11/2023 at exactly 11:48. And maybe one of us, 2 of us, 3 of us should now start talking about domestic violence. Enough is enough on domestic violence. Like I said, this is a book written by Reverend Mrs. Margaret B. Olayomi Ni Faturuti. Let's hope that this book and some other like that will help our community for those that are going through domestic violence. Well, that is on that, and we're going to move swiftly because of the time. We still have to touch on what is happening on the social media this morning. There's still a lot of news going on in Nigeria, and let's see if we can keep up to what is happening. Off-season poll, federal government tackles the labor over strike, union disrupted Imo flight. Remember that in Abuja there was a strike yesterday, and that airport was completely on a shutdown. Federal government plan to train 120 plateau youth in a small-scale mining is also coming from one of the headlines as well. Let's see what more is going on some of the other news network as well. This morning, there's a lot happening in Nigeria. The president is still in Dubai, and let's see what we can get from there. Election eve, sit-at-home scare create fresh anxiety in Imo State. Tinubu hope Uzodinma not against IPOP leader Kanu Ohaneze says. Well, it seems that everything. I did listen to the governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, say he was asked the question, why are you involved in not allowing the present administration to release Nnamdi Kanu? He went further to talk about some of the good job he has done. He hardly couldn't even answer the question. Well, according to the headline this morning, election eve, sit at home, scared, create fresh anxiety in Imo State. Tinubu, Uzodinma, not against IPOP leader Kanu. I think they're trying to probably get as many people to come out to vote tomorrow, but it seems that the Prime Minister, government in exile of the Biafra says, sit at home, election will not be conducted in Imo State. The Ohaneze Indigbo worldwide has urged Imo residents to ignore the sit-at-home order on election day, but come out en masse to vote for the governorship candidate of their choice on Saturday tomorrow. Emmanuel Iwanyanwu, the President General of Ohaneze Indigbo Worldwide, made the call in a statement yesterday. Mr. Iwanyanwu said he was informed some people issued threat prohibiting Imo people from coming out to vote by issuing a total sit-at-home order from the 9th to the 12th. As the President General of Ohaneze Indigbo Worldwide, I wish to appeal to all Imo people to turn out en masse to cast their vote for any candidate of their choice. If Imo people should comply with this, there will be no election in Imo State, and that will create chaos, says the Ohaneze leader. Mr. Iwanyanwu added, I am therefore with every sense of responsibility and love appealing to the leader of this group to rescind this decision to order a sit-at-home. The Igbo leader stated it was necessary to sound the notice and warn against Igbo land had enough bloodshed. According to him, the Igbo people fought a civil war which took the lives of millions of people and brought incalculable losses in property. We do not want a situation whereby any part of Igbo land will be exploded to any type of destructive violence. As a father, I prefer a peaceful resolution of all problems. Well, the problem is sit down and speak to those that are agitating for their right to self-determination, the Biafra. Allow Nnamdi Kanu to be released after the court have said so, rather than telling people not to sit at home. If that is the only way they can get their message to the international community, so be it. And if that is not what you want, then let the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu have a discussion and allow the court ruling over the kidnap and rendition of Nnamdi Kanu by the former President Muhammadu Buhari and the former Vice President that is meant to be a lawyer that cannot tell the President that in 21st century you can't kidnap someone that doesn't even hold any more Nigerian passport. Nnamdi Kanu was traveling on a British passport while he was being kidnapped and renditioned back to Nigeria. So we hope peace will reign in the southeast part of Nigeria as we're going to be monitoring the weekend, and I'll be reporting back again on Monday. Let's take you through one more. ICPC advised President Tinubu governors, other Nigerian leaders to shun corruption and embrace integrity. Well, let's hope that they're going to do that. The Independent Corrupt Practice and Other Related Offense Commission, ICPC, has urged President Bola Tinubu and other Nigerian leaders to shun corruption and embrace integrity. This is coming from the spokeswoman for the ICPC, Azuka Ogagu, said that during the 2023 Do the Right Thing Summit in Abuja on Thursday. Once again, Barika de Juma, and to all our listeners and viewers from around the world, we appreciate those of you that have joined us, especially those that would not stick to one particular platform. We told you, make sure you follow us on all the platforms, but it seems that some of our listeners do not do so. I'm going to move straight to the social media because we're just 7 minutes away and I have to hand over back to the production team in the studio. My name again is Olayomi Koiki, sitting for Archie and also giving you all the news headline from Africa to the traffic to the news. Tomorrow, like I said, in London is a very busy one. So let's see what is trending this morning on the X space. Well, hijab is trending. You can tell that hijab is a big issue in Nigeria. 12 northern states are not a place that would allow you to walk around if you are not in kind of, doing exactly what they want during the Sharia of those states. And the question is Nigeria now an Islamic country? Well, Nigeria is not an Islamic country, but it's just that it's unfortunate that we found ourselves in that situation. I'm not sure why hijab is trending this morning in Nigeria. I'm trying to find out the reason behind that. But if you find any information, you can let me know. But for now, I can only say that not much. So I'm going to move swiftly away from there. And I'm going to say what is trending again this morning on the X space. Once again, 5 minutes before the end of the program, my name again is Olayomi Koiki. This is still the Star Radio UK. And happy weekend in advance to all our viewers and listeners from around the world. Good morning to those of you on the MixLR in Ibadan, Lagos, and everywhere you are watching and listening to us this morning. It seems that is a little bit slow. Let's see. Well, let's take you back again to what is trending this morning. Well, it seems that it is happy birthday to Showore's wife. On behalf of the Star Radio UK, Showore say happy birthday to my darling wife Okpe as she turned 50 years old today. Well, Moyele Showore, an activist, a former presidential aspirant of the AAC, and also a Revolution Now. He says happy birthday to my wife. And we also say happy birthday. Showore is a good friend of ours here. Now let's go straight to some of the other news coming out of Nigeria. This morning, Nigerian farmers are forced to pay levy to terrorists before harvesting crops in Kaduna. Oh my lord, my lord. All right, let's go straight. I picked up a few things from David Odoye this morning. Many Nigerians, I don't know, they're doing content, and in the next 2-3 weeks they're buying Giro, big cars. And you try to wonder, is it the same, Nigeria, where you are doing content and then you are selling coconut, and before you know it, they're buying houses, they're buying big cars. Maybe it's their money. Maybe it's a ritual money, I don't know. But I read something from David Odoye that really, brought me to that. Let's take a look at that. Okay, let me read this to some of you. This was by MLM professional at Gary Akpos. Maybe you agree with this or not. Again, my mother said happy birthday to Showore's wife, and I'm sure we all love Moyele Showore. So of the brother died, the Showore brother died, I think last year when Showore was still being held, by the former president, as at the time. Well, we are running a false economy in this country. You will see someone selling one ABBA drink that you don't even know of, but they have brought G-Wagon from it. You will see a club owner with low patronage, but is buying houses every day. A pastor with 300 members and no other sources of income owns 3 Range Rovers. The list is endless. Many people are just washing money in Nigeria. I know of one of the airline owners in Nigeria from the north, who most of his fuel stations are often closed, but he was able to purchase planes and start airline business. Where did the money come from? Question mark. Then tomorrow, and substance businesses in this country might never end until we start asking these people questions. Well, David Odoye replied back, the reason they ask you for stupid money is because they have seen other promoters pay stupid money. Promoters who don't have to worry about break even and profit because they are washing someone's drug or Yahoo money. It is when It is what happens in any Nigeria industry where the size of funding wielded by some participant is completely divorced from the cash flow or any financial fundamental, leading to a distorted market with huge labor costs and vast unemployment at the same time. It is what happened with the tech when the Oyinbo boys will come in with dollars and convince every Andale boot camp survivor that they were engineers worth $300,000 a year because they knew how to code at the level of Bo Norwegian 14-year-old on 4chain. Then the dollar dried up, but the labor cost is still stupid. It is also what happened with the media and journalism ever since Big Kaba went and raised 11 jillion. They did a big announcement about it. They started paying 200. So you can tell that what they're trying to explain there, because of my time I have to go now, is that many Nigerians are selling coconut, and in the next 3 weeks they are buying G-Wagon. Is it the real money, or is it just some kind of fake life? That is how far we can go this morning. I'm going to hand over back to Francis back in the studio. My name is Olayomi Koiki. I'll be back on Monday morning. Make sure you join us for the weekend. Remember to follow us on the Starr Radio UK network, where we bring everything you need to know to your doorstep. Thank you so much for watching with me. Have a great weekend. And remember, if you're traveling into the central London tomorrow, there's a lot of closure and traffic. Stay safe. May Nigeria not happen to us. Bye for now.